At exactly 11:47 p.m., Emily Chen received the call. She almost ignored it. Most local news tips turned out to be nothing, especially in Frost Hollow, especially during winter. Outside her apartment window, snow covered everything. White rooftops, white streets, white mountains, even the sky looked pale tonight. Then the caller spoke. Ms. Chen. The train came back. Emily stopped typing immediately. What train? Silence. Then came the answer. Train 109. Her heart skipped. Everyone in Frost Hollow knew Train 109. Because Train 109 disappeared in 1976, 50 years ago. No wreckage, no survivors, no explanation. The train simply vanished during a snowstorm. Emily had written about it once for the local paper, a short anniversary article, mostly forgotten history. A mystery people in town mentioned only when the winter winds became too loud. But the caller sounded serious. Too serious. Emily stood up slowly. Who is this? The line crackled. For a moment, she heard only wind. Then the voice returned. You need to come to the station. Now. Emily looked at the clock. 48 p.m. Why? The caller hesitated, then whispered. Because the passengers are still inside. The call ended. For several seconds, Emily stood completely still. Then she grabbed her camera, her coat, her recorder, her car keys. 20 minutes later, she was driving through the empty white streets of Frost Hollow. The town looked unreal at night. Snow covered every roof, every tree, every road. The headlights of her car cut through the falling flakes. Everything was white, clean, silent, too silent. When Emily reached Frost Hollow Station, the parking lot was empty. No police, no reporters, no emergency crews. Only one old truck sat beside the platform. Robert Hayes's truck, the station caretaker. Emily stepped out into the cold. Her boots sank into fresh snow. The station lights flickered softly, glowing against the white platform. Then she saw it, standing silently, on track 3. Train 109. Emily forgot how to breathe. The train looked impossible. Old design, silver body, dark windows, steam rising from beneath it like a living thing. But the paint looked almost new. The number on the side was clear. Fresh snow rested on the roof. No tracks led into the station, no long trail behind it, no sign it had arrived from anywhere. It was simply there, as if the snow had created it. Emily slowly raised her camera. Her finger trembled. She took one photograph. The flash reflected off the train windows. For 1 second, she thought she saw faces behind the glass. Dozens of them. Watching her. Then the nearest train door opened. Slowly. A little girl stepped outside. About 10 years old. White coat, red scarf, brown boots. She looked around the station with wide, frightened eyes. Then she looked directly at Emily. Excuse me? Her voice shook. What year is this? Emily couldn't answer, because behind the girl stood dozens of passengers. Men, women, children, all dressed in clothing from another time. Old coats, old hats, old suitcases, and according to the photographs Emily had seen from 1976. Not one of them had aged a single day. Then Robert Hayes appeared from the station office. His face was pale. Emily. She looked at him. What is happening? Robert stared at the train, then whispered, It finally brought them back. Emily turned toward him. What do you mean, finally? Robert swallowed hard, then said, Because it took something from this town when it disappeared. Emily looked back at Train 109. The passengers were still watching, still silent, still smiling. Then the station clock struck midnight. The train whistle echoed across the White Valley, and every light in Frost Hollow went out. Before we continue, make sure you're subscribed because Emily is about to step onto a train that should not exist. The station lights remained dark. Only the moon illuminated the platform. Only the snow reflected enough light for Emily to see. Everything around her was white. The station, the mountains, the tracks. Even the steam from Train 109 looked pale under the moonlight. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. The passengers simply stood there, watching, waiting. The little girl in the red scarf slowly stepped closer. She looked confused, scared, cold. Please. What year is this? Emily finally answered. 2026. The little girl's face turned white. No. That's not possible. Emily crouched beside her. What year do you think it is? The girl looked down at the snow. 1976. Emily felt the cold travel through her body. Behind the little girl, an elderly man stepped forward. Black coat, old hat, small silver suitcase. He looked around the station in disbelief. Then he whispered, "The storm lasted longer than I thought." Robert Hayes slowly shook his head. "No storm lasts 50 years. The old man's face changed immediately. "What did you say?" Robert pointed toward the station calendar hanging beside the office door. December 18th, 2026. The old man slowly walked toward it. His hands began shaking. Then he collapsed onto the bench beside the platform. "My wife. My son." Emily didn't know what to say, because for him, they had probably said goodbye only a few hours ago. Then another passenger stepped off the train. A young woman holding a sleeping baby. She looked around desperately. "Where is my husband?" Nobody answered. Another passenger followed, then another, then another. Soon dozens of people stood in the snow-covered station, all confused, all terrified, all from another time. Emily lifted her camera again. She took photographs of every face. Then she froze, because she recognized one of them. Immediately. A teenage boy standing near the train door, white sweater, brown jacket, dark hair. Emily had seen his photograph before. At the town museum. Missing since 1976. Age 17. Never found. But standing in front of her now. He still looked 17. Exactly 17. The same face. The same clothes. The same expression. Emily slowly approached him. "Your name?" The boy looked at her. "Michael Turner." Her heart stopped. It was him. The missing boy from the museum photograph. Emily pulled out her phone. She searched quickly. The article appeared instantly. Michael Turner. Missing since December 17th. 1976 presumed deadage at disappearance. 17. Emily held the screen toward him. Michael stared at it silently. Then his eyes filled with tears. "My mother. She waited for me." Emily couldn't answer, because according to the article, Michael's mother had died in 2008. She had waited 32 years for her son to come home. The station became silent again. Then suddenly every passenger looked toward the train, at exactly the same moment, as if they had heard something nobody else could hear. The little girl grabbed Emily's hand tightly. "He's coming." Emily looked down. "Who?" The girl slowly pointed toward the train. "The conductor." The temperature dropped instantly. Emily could see her own breath now. The train whistle sounded again. Longer this time. Louder. Then footsteps echoed from inside train 109. Slow footsteps. Heavy footsteps. Moving toward the door. One step. Then another. Then another. Every passenger stepped backward. Fear filled their faces. Even Robert Hayes looked terrified. Emily whispered, "Who is the conductor?" The little girl looked up at her, then answered, "He never got off the train." The footsteps stopped inside the doorway. For several seconds nothing happened. Then a shadow appeared behind the frosted glass. Tall. Still. Watching. The train door slowly began opening again. If you're still watching, subscribe now because Emily is about to meet the only passenger who stayed aboard train 109 for 50 years. The train door slowly opened. The entire station became silent. Even the wind seemed to disappear. Nobody moved. Nobody breathed. Then the figure stepped out. A tall man. Black uniform. Black gloves. Long dark coat covered in snow. A silver pocket watch hung from his jacket. His hat covered most of his face. Emily couldn't see his eyes, but somehow, she felt him looking directly at her. The little girl immediately stepped behind Emily. The old man with the silver suitcase lowered his head. The passengers looked terrified. Not surprised. Terrified, as if they already knew him. The conductor slowly stepped onto the platform. His boots touched the snow. Still, no footprints appeared. Emily's heart started racing. The conductor looked toward the passengers, then spoke. His voice sounded calm. Too calm. Train 109 has arrived safely. No one answered. The conductor continued. Final destination reached. The young mother holding the baby suddenly shouted, "No! You promised us we'd be home before morning." The conductor looked at her silently, then replied, "You are home." The woman started crying. The old man stepped forward. "My wife is waiting for me." The conductor slowly turned toward him. "No." The old man froze. The conductor removed the pocket watch, opened it, looked inside, then answered quietly. "Margaret Wilson. Died February 11th, 1998. The old man's suitcase slipped from his hand. He collapsed into the snow. Tears filled his eyes. Emily felt sick. How could he know that? The conductor looked toward the next passenger, then the next, and the next. One by one, he spoke their names. Their families, their deaths, their lives, everything, as if he had been watching them all for 50 years. Then his head slowly turned toward Emily. The entire platform suddenly felt colder. Emily Chen. Her heart stopped. She had never told him her name. The conductor tilted his head slightly. "You weren't supposed to be here." Emily stepped backward. "What are you talking about?" The conductor looked toward the mountains, toward the endless white snow, then answered, "This train only returns for those it took." Emily frowned. "What did it take from me?" For the first time. The conductor became silent. Then he slowly raised his hand and pointed toward the train, toward one particular window. Emily followed his finger. Inside the train sat a young woman, Asian. Black hair, brown eyes, white coat. Emily stopped breathing. Because she wasn't looking at a stranger. She was looking at herself. Not exactly herself. Younger. Around 16 years old. The girl inside the train looked directly at Emily, then slowly raised her hand against the glass. Emily stumbled backward. Robert Hayes grabbed her arm. His face had turned pale. "Emily." She couldn't speak. Robert looked toward the train window, then whispered, "Oh God, it took your sister too." Emily turned toward him immediately. "What?" Robert looked at her in shock. "You don't remember?" The world suddenly became quiet, because Emily Chen never had a sister. At least, that's what she had believed her entire life. Then the conductor spoke again. His voice echoed across the station. "Not every passenger disappears from the world. Some disappear from memory." The young girl inside the train smiled sadly, then placed her hand against the window, and whispered words Emily couldn't hear. But somehow, Emily knew exactly what she said. "Big sister." The station clock suddenly stopped. 12:07 a.m. The train whistle screamed through the valley. The conductor closed his pocket watch, then announced, "Boarding begins in 10 minutes. Emily stared at him. "Boarding?" The conductor nodded. "You came looking for answers." Then he looked toward the open train door. "And all answers have a price. If you're still here, subscribe now because Emily is about to discover why an entire person was erased from her memories." Emily couldn't move. She couldn't breathe. The girl inside train 109 looked exactly like her. Not similar, not close. Exactly. The same eyes, the same hair, the same small scar above her left eyebrow, the same necklace Emily had worn since childhood, the necklace her mother had given her when she was 6 years old. The girl slowly stood up from her seat. Then she walked toward the train window, step by step, never taking her eyes off Emily. Outside, snow continued falling silently. The station lights remained dead. Only the moon illuminated the white world around them. Emily pressed her hand against the cold glass. The girl did the same from the other side, perfectly aligned, like a reflection. Then the girl spoke. Not loudly, but Emily heard every word. "You promised you wouldn't forget me." Emily stepped backward immediately. "What?" The girl looked confused, almost hurt. "You said memories can't die." Robert Hayes slowly removed his glasses. His hands were shaking. "Oh my God." Emily turned toward him. "What are you talking about?" Robert looked toward the train, then toward Emily. "I remember now." Emily frowned. "Remember what?" Robert swallowed hard. "You had a sister." The world suddenly felt unreal. "No." Robert nodded slowly. "Her name was Lily." Emily stared at him. "No. You were twins." Emily laughed nervously, an automatic reaction, because the idea sounded impossible. Ridiculous, her parents would have told her. There would be photographs, birth certificates, memories. There were none. Robert slowly reached inside his jacket pocket. Then he pulled out an old photograph. Emily froze. The picture showed two little girls standing in snow. Both wearing red jackets, both smiling, both holding hands. One was Emily. The other was the girl from the train. Emily felt the ground disappear beneath her. On the back of the photograph were 4 words: Emily and Lily. Winter of 2009. Her hands started shaking. This isn't real. Robert looked away. It was real. Emily looked back toward the train. The girl was crying now. Tears rolled down her cheeks. Then she whispered, "You forgot me again." The conductor suddenly spoke. Memory is fragile. Emily turned toward him. "What did you do to her?" The conductor looked toward the white mountains, then answered, "I did nothing. The storm chose." Emily stepped toward him. "What storm?" The conductor raised one finger, pointing toward the sky. The snowfall suddenly stopped. Instantly, every snowflake froze in the air. The entire town became silent. Then Emily heard it. A sound deep beneath the ground, like metal moving slowly, like wheels turning somewhere under the snow. Robert's face lost all color. It woke up. Emily looked at him. "What woke up?" Robert pointed toward the mountains. Far in the distance, something enormous moved beneath the snow. Not on top of it, beneath it. A shadow, huge, longer than the train itself, moving toward Frost Hollow. The passengers immediately stepped backward. Fear spread across their faces. The little girl grabbed Emily's coat. "It's coming for the missing ones." Emily looked down. "What is?" The little girl whispered only 2 words. "The collector." At that exact moment, every clock in Frost Hollow stopped. 12:13 a.m. Every house light turned on. At exactly the same second, every window, every streetlight, every building. The entire town glowed white against the snow. Then all the radios in the station turned on by themselves. Static filled the air. Then a voice spoke, a little girl's voice. Soft. Broken. "Emily. Please don't leave me on the train this time." Emily stopped breathing, because she recognized the voice instantly. It was hers. Not her voice today. Her voice as a child. The conductor closed his pocket watch, then looked directly at Emily. "You have 6 hours." Emily stared at him. 6 hours for what? The conductor looked toward the train, then toward the mountains, then answered, "Before Frost Hollow forgets her again. If you're still here, subscribe." Now, because Emily is about to discover why her entire town forgot her sister ever existed. For several seconds nobody spoke, nobody moved. The entire station remained frozen beneath the white moonlight. The snow itself looked different now. Not soft. Not peaceful. Alive. Emily stared toward the mountains. The shadow beneath the snow moved again, closer this time. Much closer. The ground vibrated softly beneath her boots. The passengers from train 109 immediately stepped away from the tracks. Fear filled their faces. Real fear. The kind of fear people carry only after seeing something impossible. Then Michael Turner spoke. His voice trembled. "It's awake." Emily looked at him. "What is awake?" Michael swallowed hard. "The thing that took us." The station suddenly felt colder. Robert Hayes slowly removed his gloves. His hands were shaking badly now. "I prayed I'd never see this night again." Emily turned toward him. "You knew about this?" Robert nodded. "My father was here in 1976. Emily stared at him. He was one of the search volunteers. Robert looked toward the mountains. They searched for train 109 for 8 months. Then one morning, the footprints simply stopped. Emily frowned. "What footprints?" Robert closed his eyes. The footprints leading into the snow. There were hundreds going in, none coming out. The silence returned. Then came the sound. Deep beneath the snow. A low metallic groan, like an old ship moving underwater, like steel dragging across ice. Every passenger looked toward the mountains. The little girl grabbed Emily's hand again. "Don't let it see you." Emily looked down. "See me?" The little girl nodded slowly. "It remembers faces." The station light suddenly flickered back to life. For 1 second, 2 seconds, then darkness again. Then all at once, every light in Frost Hollow returned. The snow-covered town glowed bright white beneath the night sky. And that was when Emily saw it. A line in the snow, stretching from the mountains toward the station. Not footprints, not tire tracks, something moving beneath the surface. Something enormous. The snow rose and fell above it like ocean waves. The passengers stepped backward together. The conductor remained perfectly still, watching, waiting. Then the snow near the tracks exploded upward. Emily screamed. A giant black object rose from beneath the white surface. Not an animal, not a machine. Something in between. It looked like a train carriage made entirely of shadow and ice. Windows covered its sides, hundreds of windows, and behind every window, faces, thousands of faces, men, women, children, all staring outward, all silent, all trapped. Emily felt her legs weaken. The little girl whispered, "The collector." The giant thing moved silently beneath the snow, circling the station, watching, searching. Then Emily noticed something horrifying. Some of the faces inside the windows looked familiar, very familiar. She stepped closer. Her heart stopped. One of the faces belonged to her mother. Another belonged to her grandfather. Another belonged to her childhood teacher. People who were alive. People who had never disappeared. Emily stepped backward immediately. "How is that possible?" the conductor finally answered. "It doesn't only collect people. It collects memories." Emily looked back toward the creature. The faces inside the windows slowly changed. New faces appeared. Old faces vanished. Memories. Entire lives. Entire identities. Stored somewhere inside that thing. Then Emily saw her own face. Older. Much older. Looking back at her from inside one of the windows, the older Emily raised her hand slowly, then placed it against the glass. Emily couldn't breathe, because the older version of herself mouthed 3 words. "Find Lily first." Suddenly, the collector stopped moving. The entire town became silent again. Then every face inside the windows turned toward Emily at exactly the same moment. Thousands of eyes. Watching her. Remembering her. The little girl squeezed Emily's hand tightly. "It knows your name now." The conductor looked at his silver watch, then toward Emily. His expression never changed. "You have 5 hours left." Emily looked toward the train, toward Lily, toward the impossible creature beneath the snow. Then she asked the question nobody wanted to answer. "What happens if I fail?" The conductor closed the watch, then quietly replied, "By sunrise. Frost Hollow will forget you too." If you're still here, subscribe now because Emily is about to enter train 109 for the first time, and some passengers never come back out. Emily stood completely still. The collector continued circling beneath the snow. The white ground rose and fell slowly above it, like waves above a submarine, like something enormous swimming beneath the earth. Train 109 remained silent. The passengers remained frozen, waiting, watching. Then the conductor opened the train door completely. Warm yellow light spilled onto the white platform. For the first time all night, the inside of the train became visible. Old wooden walls, golden lights, polished floors. Everything looked exactly as it would have in 1976, as if time had stopped inside. The conductor looked directly at Emily. "You wanted answers?" Emily swallowed nervously. The conductor stepped aside. "Come inside." Robert immediately grabbed her arm. "Don't." Emily looked at him. "Why?" Robert's face had turned pale. "My father entered the train in 1976. Emily froze. He never came back. The conductor remained silent. The little girl in the red scarf looked toward Emily, then quietly whispered, "You won't lose time if you remember your name." Emily frowned. "What does that mean?" The little girl looked away. "It takes memories first." The cold wind disappeared. The station became silent again. Then Lily appeared at the train doorway. Emily's heart stopped. Her sister looked exactly like she had in the photograph. 16 years old, long black hair, white coat, brown eyes. The same eyes Emily saw every morning in the mirror. Lily smiled softly. "Come with me." Emily stepped forward. "Lily." Tears filled Lily's eyes. "You came back this time." Emily stopped walking. "This time?" Lily nodded slowly. "You always come back." The world suddenly felt smaller. "What do you mean always?" Lily looked toward the conductor, then toward the train, then answered quietly, This isn't the first time. Emily felt the blood leave her face. The conductor opened his silver pocket watch. Inside was no clock, no numbers, only photographs. Hundreds of tiny photographs. Different years, different winters, different versions of Frost Hollow Station, different versions of Emily. Her heart started racing. Emily grabbed the watch. She stared at the photographs. Every photograph showed Emily standing beside train 109. Different coat, different age, same face, same station, same train, the same night. Emily slowly looked up. No. The conductor nodded once. You always find the train. You always board it. Emily stepped backward. That's impossible. The conductor closed the watch. Then explain how you know where your sister is. Emily couldn't answer. Because he was right. She had never known Lily existed. Yet somehow, the moment she saw her, she recognized her instantly. As if part of her had been searching for Lily for years, without knowing why. Then the train lights flickered. Every passenger looked toward the windows. Fear spread across their faces. The collector had stopped moving. Completely stopped. The conductor's expression changed for the first time. Worry, real worry. The little girl grabbed Emily's hand tightly. It found the train. The windows immediately frosted over, one by one, every window, every door, every light dimmed. Then came the sound. A single knock. From outside the train. Knock. Emily looked toward the window. Nothing but white snow outside. Then came a second knock. Louder. Knock. Knock. The passengers began crying. The old man with the silver suitcase lowered his head. Lily grabbed Emily's arm. We have to move. Emily looked at her. Move where? Lily pointed toward the back of train 109. Toward the last carriage. The only carriage without windows. The only carriage without lights. The only carriage with a number written on the door. Car 0. Emily stared at it. There is no car 0. The conductor looked toward the dark carriage, then answered quietly. There shouldn't be. The knocking came again. This time the entire train shook. The lights flickered violently. The conductor looked at Emily, for the first time. Fear appeared in his eyes. Then he spoke. If the collector enters this train, it won't take your memories. Emily stared at him. What will it take? The conductor looked toward Lily, then whispered, your existence. If you're still here, subscribe now because Emily is about to enter car 0, the one place on train 109 that was never meant to exist. The train shook again, harder this time. The lights flickered violently, somewhere outside. The collector moved beneath the snow. Closer, closer, closer. The passengers inside train 109 had stopped talking, stopped moving. Many of them were praying, others were crying quietly. The little girl with the red scarf sat beside the window with her eyes closed, as if she had already seen this happen before. Emily looked toward car 0, the dark carriage at the end of the train. No windows, no lights, no markings except a single silver number. Lily grabbed Emily's hand. We have to go now. Emily looked toward the conductor. What is car 0? The conductor remained silent. For several seconds he simply stared toward the dark carriage. Then finally he answered. It is where forgotten people go. Emily felt cold despite the warmth inside the train. Forgotten people? The conductor nodded slowly. When a person is erased completely. When nobody remembers their name. When every photograph disappears. When every memory fades. They arrive in car 0. Emily immediately looked toward Lily. Her sister lowered her eyes. The answer was already written on her face. Emily whispered, Lily. Lily forced a smile. I've lived there for 17 years. Emily stopped breathing. No. Lily nodded. Mom forgot me. Dad forgot me. The town forgot me. Eventually. I started forgetting myself. Tears filled Emily's eyes. The train shook again. This time the sound came from above them, not below. Above. Something massive landed on the roof of train 109. The passengers screamed. The lights went out. Darkness filled the carriage. Then came the sound. Footsteps. Heavy footsteps, walking across the roof. Slowly, patiently. Emily looked toward the frozen window. A shadow moved across the glass. Enormous. Impossible. The collector had found them. The conductor immediately stood. "Move!" Lily pulled Emily toward the back of the train. They ran through carriage after carriage. 70s passengers, old luggage, sleeping babies, frozen clocks. Everything looked untouched by time. Then they reached the final door. Car 0. Lily stopped. Her hand trembled. Emily looked at her. "What's wrong?" Lily looked down. "If you open this door, you'll remember everything." Emily stared at her. "Everything about you?" Lily shook her head. "Everything." The conductor arrived behind them. His face looked older somehow, more tired. The train shook violently again. Metal screamed outside. The collector was trying to enter. The conductor looked toward Emily. "You have a choice." Emily stared at him. "What choice?" The conductor pointed toward Lily. "You can remember your sister." Emily immediately answered. "Of course." The conductor slowly shook his head. "You don't understand." He pointed toward car 0. "If you remember Lily, you remember every forgotten person." Emily frowned. "What does that mean?" The conductor looked away. Then quietly answered, "You become the one who remembers." The train became silent. Even the collector stopped moving. Lily stepped closer. Tears filled her eyes. "It means you'll never forget anyone again." Emily still didn't understand. The conductor continued, "You'll remember every missing child, every forgotten face, every person erased from history, every person nobody remembers anymore." Emily looked at Lily. "That doesn't sound so bad." The conductor closed his eyes, then whispered, "You'll remember them forever." Emily suddenly understood. Not days, not months, forever. Millions of memories, millions of faces, millions of lives. The weight would never disappear. The burden would never end. Lily looked at her sister one final time, then smiled sadly. "It's okay, Emily. You can let me go." The train shook violently. The door to car 0 slowly began opening by itself. White light flooded the corridor, brighter than snow, brighter than daylight. Inside the light, Emily saw thousands of people, children, parents, families, all waiting, all forgotten, all looking toward her, and among them, a little girl holding a red scarf, waiting for her big sister to remember. If you've made it this far, subscribe now, because in the final scene, Emily must decide whether to save her sister or save herself. The white light poured from car 0. The entire train disappeared behind it. The passengers, the conductor, the snow outside. Everything vanished into brightness. Only Emily and Lily remained standing in the doorway. For several seconds, neither of them spoke. Neither moved. Then Lily smiled sadly. The same smile Emily remembered from the photograph. The same smile she somehow felt she had known her entire life. Lily stepped forward. "You should go back." Emily looked at her. "I'm not leaving you here." Lily lowered her eyes. "You already did." The words hit Emily harder than anything else that night, because somehow, she knew Lily was right. Fragments of memories suddenly appeared. Two sisters building snowmen. Two sisters running through the streets of Frost Hollow. Two sisters laughing in the kitchen. Two sisters standing beside train 109 17 years earlier. Emily fell to her knees. She remembered now. Everything. The storm. The train. The collector. The choice. 17 years ago, the collector came for Frost Hollow. It demanded a memory, a person, someone the town would forget. Emily had been 10 years old. Lily had been 10 years old. Their parents were given a choice. Lose both daughters, or lose one memory, one existence, one child. Her parents chose Lily, not because they loved Emily more, but because Lily chose first. Emily's tears fell onto the floor. "No," Lily smiled through tears. "I didn't want you to disappear too." The white light around them slowly moved. Thousands of forgotten faces watched silently, waiting. The collector suddenly struck the side of the train. The entire carriage shook violently. The conductor looked toward Emily. His voice echoed through the light. "The choice returns." Emily stood slowly. "What choice?" The conductor looked toward Lily. "You can leave. The world will continue. Your family will still remember you. Your life will remain yours." Emily already knew the second option. She looked toward the forgotten people inside the light. Children, parents, brothers, sisters. Entire lives erased, entire worlds forgotten. Then she looked at Lily. Her sister smiled. The same smile from the photograph, the same smile from her dreams. Emily stepped forward, then took Lily's hand. The collector screamed outside the train, a sound like metal tearing apart, a sound like memories breaking. Emily looked toward the conductor. My answer is no. The conductor nodded slowly. Emily held Lily's hand tighter. If someone has to remember them, I'll remember. The white light exploded around them. Memories flooded Emily's mind. Names, faces, voices, birthdays, laughter, goodbyes. Millions of lives, millions of memories. The weight nearly broke her. Then suddenly, silence. Emily opened her eyes. Morning sunlight covered Frost Hollow. The snow sparkled beneath the blue sky. Train 109 was gone. The passengers were gone. The collector was gone. Only the train tracks remained. Robert Hayes stood beside her. His eyes widened. Emily. He looked confused. Who are you talking to? Emily looked beside her. Lily stood there, smiling. Alive. Real. Robert frowned. Your sister came with you? Emily smiled through tears. Yes. Robert looked confused. Of course she did. The world had changed. The town remembered Lily again. Photographs returned, school records returned, memories returned. It was as if she had never disappeared. Weeks later, Emily visited the Frost Hollow Museum. The missing persons wall had changed. Train 109 was still there. The passengers were still listed. But one thing was different. At the very bottom was a new photograph. A woman standing beside the station. White coat, gray scarf, black hair. Emily Chen. Below it were 5 words. The one who remembers them. Emily stared at the photograph. Then she noticed something else. New photographs had appeared beside hers. New names, new missing people. People nobody else remembered. But Emily did. Because that was the price. Not pain, not death. Memory. Forever. That night, Lily knocked on Emily's bedroom door. Still awake, Emily smiled. Yeah. Lily sat beside her. After a few moments she asked, "Do you regret it?" Emily looked out at the snow falling outside. Soft, white, peaceful. Then she answered, "No. Because somewhere out there, someone remembers every person the world forgets. And now, that someone was her."